Hey, has Noam? Oh, never mind. I'll wait.
Okay, so no, whenever you're ready.
I'm ready.
My lighting okay?
No, it's too dark.
What should I do?
Need lights. Do you have
Stand by. Stand by.
standing by?
Okay.
Maybe I can block the sun coming in behind me. One sec.
Yeah, that sun is a little bit blinding.
We're recording. That's better.
Ray, you didn't notice the hat I'm wearing?
Oh, look at that!
Yeah.
Looking good.
Well, I figured it's a special occasion. Normally, I just wear this hat to take a dump.
Your beard looks terrible.
Pardon?
The beard, it looks horrible.
All right.
Oh, I like the beard.
Really?
Yeah.
All right.
You just have to wait. We're gonna see the sunset behind me. That's all.
All right.
Well, that could be lovely and very romantic. Okay, Noam, whenever you're ready.
Good evening, everybody. Welcome to the. Are we recording?
Yes, we are.
Good evening. Welcome to this. Good evening and welcome to Live from the Table here on Sirius XM Channel 99.
Raw dog.
My name is Noam Dworman. I'm holed up in an undisclosed location. I'm here with my partner, Mr. Dan Naturman, and our Partress, Periel Aschenbrand, and Ray Ellin, one of the most, an institution, a comedy institution, both in Manhattan and in the country of Aruba. Is Aruba an independent country or it's Dutch or what is it?
They have their independence, but they follow Dutch law.
That's why prostitution
I am wearing my Aruba Ray hat for the occasion, as you will notice.
Looking good, Dan.
You can see the video.
Looking good.
All right, so Ray, let's get to the obvious stuff first. What is are you losing your mind? Why are there spray painted hearts on your wall?
Well, you know, I guess it just there was one night. It's in the middle of all this off. I saw something online that said about.
I think we have some terrible news. This is not going to work if Ray doesn't have if Ray's going to use a dial-up connection.
What do you think? What?
Well, your audio is not good, Ray.
Really? You can't hear me?
Well, we hear you, but it stops and starts like an old cell phone.
Really? I'm just on my lap. How's that? Does that sound better? Check 1, 2.
Yeah, okay. Now, why are there hearts on your wall? It's not going to change. Why is there hearts on your wall?
There's just a night where an article about trying to lift your spirits, maybe modify your living space, and just kind of got some teenagers over here and we graffitied the place. No, I just had some spray paint and I figured it just I don't know, add a little color.
Why didn't you take a piece of scrap paper and practice some hearts before you started making awful hearts? They're not even real hearts. They're
not so great.
Noam, I would just say that in the spirit of this new spirit of unity that crisis has brought, I would, maybe not go after Ray quite as harshly as you often do.
I think it looks pretty good. As I'm looking at it on my screen, I think it looks pretty good.
It looks like you're live from the kindergarten. But anyway, the point is this: as time is going on, I'm noticing that I'm developing a little harshness. Like this is enough of this shit already, and it's just beginning.
Developing.
Yeah, I was gonna say developing. You've been harsh. Known you.
No, usually I'm harsh with like a wink and a glint in the eye. This is true harshness.
I have seen you flip out over the type of glass you were served water in at the Olive Tree.
Yeah, that's like Robert De Niro counting the blueberries in Casino.
It's the same.
You have to.
I have seen you lose your mind over minutia. By the way, how's it going getting a chef in the Olive Tree? You got a new chef?
You really fucking with me now?
Well, now's not necessarily the time, but
I guess you can't hire anybody right now.
But as I told Noam on the last episode, there'll probably be restaurant closures and chefs available when all this is over, and Noam will have his pick.
Probably will be.
By the way, I was out today buying water, and I had somebody spit behind me. I heard a spit on the sidewalk. Does anybody have any words of comfort, or am I doomed?
Did you have a mask on?
No, in fact, I bought a mask right after that. I have a mask. I don't know if it's any good. It's like a $4 mask.
Oh, it's probably good.
Pardon?
It's probably good.
Yeah, from what I hear, the masks are good if you have it to keep other people from getting it. But and it's of some value in keeping you from getting it.
Well, I mean, look. Obviously, any kind of anything which is placed in front of moving air will slow it down. So, the thinner and better the mask, the more likely it is to protect you. But even just fabric is as likely as not to catch the virus before it gets through to you. The virus can't go through the fabric. The virus can go through the spaces between the fabric. So the thinner, the denser the fabric is, like an N95 mask, the safer it is. But certainly any kind of, I think any kind of fabric increases your odds of not getting.
I guess it's better than nothing.
Yeah.
It's so nerve-wracking going to the store.
Have you been wearing a mask, Aruba Ray?
No, and then after I texted Periel earlier today.
It's very bad, Aruba Ray.
What's that?
Your sound is bad.
Really?
Yeah.
Ray, tell us the truth. What's your internet connection?
Whatever it is, 40. I have Verizon Fios.
This is wireless or Ethernet cable?
Wireless.
But that shouldn't be the reason. But
I don't get it. I had no.
Well, now it sounds better. We'll see.
I used Zoom. I used this the other day when I played poker with some people.
Well, it's better now, so we'll hope for the best.
Now, can I tell you something about Zoom? Zoom has a setting here that says touch up my appearance. So this is me with actual blemishes. This is a dry skin patch here. And this is touch up, but I think this looks weird. I think I look better, warts and all.
Let's see. Where do you go to do that with the touch up?
No, that's not the point, Ray. All right, what are we going to talk about before everybody?
First of all, Noam, times are very dark indeed.
Yeah.
Ray Ellin has sworn off sex in light of this corona virus, and that is a very serious thing.
No sex. I can't do it.
Like Ray Ellin.
I've had invitations, and I'm like, I can't go to your place. You cannot come to my place.
I don't think you can get coronavirus from somebody coming in your face, Ray. I don't know what you're worried about.
Oh man! Good Lord!
It's the making out that I think is.
Well, those people don't kiss, do they?
Maybe it's just no kissing, doggy only. Maybe that's the move.
So can I tell you something, which I don't know how thrilled we're going to be for this to be public information, but something occurred to me last time I saw you, Ray.
Oh.
And I think that maybe 10 years ago, you might have slept with a friend of mine.
Probably.
Wow. What
are the odds of that?
A friend of mine is a friend of yours from the tri-state area?
Yeah.
Let's see. So you have a bunch of Jewish friends in the tri-state area. What are the odds that Ray fucked one of them?
I got to be honest with you. I've been with very few Jewish women. The Jewish women are usually not interested in me.
Yeah.
What's her first name, your friend?
Her first name is Tara.
What?
Ray doesn't remember. You expect Ray to remember from a list of thousands of people?
Listen, it like hit me, but when you just like suddenly like you realize something, Dan, you have to take that hat off because we can't see your face.
Periel, can you text me her last name? Will you text me her last name right now?
First of all,
I can text you a picture of her.
The problem with Dan is that you have a backlight. You need a light behind you makes everything darker. That's better. So you should probably turn out that light behind you or whatever.
I'll turn off one of the two lights behind me.
Yeah, turn off one. Turn off the other one. Let's see what that's like. Yeah, because that's the one that's showing in the camera. Now let's see.
Dan Naturman's haunted house.
That's kind of better. Now move a little bit. Yeah, that's good. There we go.
Oh, that's good. Look at that.
Okay. So listen, I was thinking that, I don't know if you guys think, so I wake up and there's nothing to do and there's no job and there's barely any work and the days flow together. And I was thinking that if it's really
what the hell was that?
It's really an insight into what it's like, I think, to be on some sort of government assistance or something where you get a check every week. And this is not a argument that people don't need government assistance. Obviously, many people do. But I'm just saying psychologically, I think I'm beginning to get some insight into how awful the effect of that can be, where you don't have to get up in the morning, you don't have to get to work, you don't have responsibilities, you're just like, whatever. There's a check in the mail and you wake up whenever. And right? Anybody feeling that way?
No,
No.
not really. I mean, well, now that I think of it, maybe. I mean, idleness is the devil's workshop.
Yeah, like if I lived like this for 5 years, I don't think I'd be capable of doing anything in the real world anymore.
Yeah, you definitely you lose. Yeah, absolutely. It's a very odd feeling. You feel sort of a little useless. You feel. I mean, you're being look, and we have it better than so many other people. You can find people who have it better than us and much worse than us. But you know, I'm starting to feel a little Howard Hughes-ish. You know, I mean, wearing Kleenex boxes to go to the supermarket. You know,
but no, I'm actually not. First of all, I get up every morning, I shower, so you know, a change of pace.
That's good. That's good.
And I actually am working. For example, I am working slowly but surely on my novel. So I'm trying to be somewhat productive, and you know, I'm making probably at about 160 pages, by the way.
Wow.
Maybe 170. I'm not sure. I try not to look at the word count because I don't want to psych myself out, but I'm about at that. Last time I checked, I was at 50,000 words.
Is this a historical novel based in the French Revolution? What is this, Dan?
No, this is a novel. Well, I don't want to give much away, but it's a novel about semi-autobiographical. I'll just say that. And I don't want to get too into it, but I'm now going to incorporate, because I have to, I'm going to incorporate the corona into it because it takes place in the present and in the years leading up to the present. And it's almost, you know, I spoke to somebody else that's also writing, and she was telling me that, yeah, a lot of people are dealing with this because when they're writing, because it's such a monstrous, overwhelming event that you cannot not mention it in any kind of fictional story that takes place in the present.
Yeah. Is it the life and times of Harry
Ellin? It would be like writing a novel in 1943 and you just don't mention World War II at all. You know, some things are so big that they have to be mentioned. So I will be incorporating Corona into this. It won't be a major plot element.
That's good, Dan. I mean, I have stuff to get up for. I'm homeschooling and all that stuff, but literally, I shower like once every 3 days. I'm getting a little depressed. I don't know.
You can't do that.
I'm going on unemployment, Dan.
What's that?
I think I'm going to go on unemployment.
Are you eligible for unemployment? Because I'm going to.
I have a salary like everybody else.
Well, okay. I mean, I guess fair is fair, but you know, that money could probably be better spent, you know, going to somebody else. But
you can send it to the.
You're saying that based on means.
Title.
No. You're saying based on means that certain people shouldn't get unemployment. That may or may not be. But but there's plenty of people who make salaries from companies that make more money than I do. But the difference between me and them is that those people who make salaries, when their business is shut down, they don't have $80,000 a month of bills they still have to pay every month.
Do you have a lot of staff that have filed for unemployment on?
I hope they all have.
Yeah.
By the way, Noam, have you contacted Esty at all?
Yeah, I speak to her a lot, and she was on Robert's podcast last night. She's all right.
Okay, good. I was.
But I'm worried about her because Esty's our booker. She's you know, a few years older than I am, and I'm worried that she won't be able to come back to work for a long time. She's high risk. She's borderline diabetic. She was a smoker. She's older. I don't want her to get.
But she can work. I mean, she can work from home, though, right? I mean, she can book the club from home.
Yeah, of course she can. But I'm just saying. I don't.
She can work, but she can't come to the club necessarily, even if it opens in some.
Right. No, psychologically, the isolation is terrible. I mean, no, truthfully, you're in a spacious home. You have your wife, your kids. I mean, it's great. I mean, you all get along. I mean, that's fantastic.
I don't know my wife.
Well,
I'm kidding. Okay, no,
Periel's with her husband and her kid. I mean, you know, Dan enjoys being, you know.
The truth is, of all the things that bother me, being alone is is lower down on the list than the other thing. The things that bother me more are the fear that comedy's not coming back anytime soon, and I'll have no way to make any money. Also, I'm afraid of getting the coronavirus.
Yeah.
And I'm reading much too much about it. And
Yeah, you're reading.
Probably should stop doing so.
I'm afraid of getting it too.
Well, I feel like
I also don't like being alone, but that's lower down on the list of preoccupations.
Do you know how nerve-wracking it is going to the supermarket or CVS and just you have to touch that screen to finish your purchase? It is it's horrible. It's really something. Just touching that screen. I mean, I immediately Purell and then I, scrub my hands.
I don't think that's how people are. From what I've read, people are generally getting it by being in close proximity to other people and talking with them and being in their space. I may be wrong. And also, you can wash your hands.
You can, but it's just psychologically, it's so nerve-wracking.
No,
Can I tell you guys something?
Please.
I feel like I maybe buried the lead here a little bit, but I'm pretty sure that I either had it or have it.
Well, why do you say that?
Look, Noam immediately is rolling his eyes.
No, I'm such a dick. Why?
I know, he's such an asshole. Well, I lost my sense of taste and smell.
You never had much taste. I'm kidding.
I know, I always stick up for you.
That's true. You really do, actually. Go ahead.
I lost my sense of taste and smell, and I was really achy, and I had an awful headache. And
how long was it since your last period?
Irascible.
My doctor said, those are telltale signs.
The loss of taste is a classic one.
Yeah.
How long did it all last? The whole thing?
Well, I left the city about a week ago and I was fine, and I hadn't left. I mean, I was self-quarantining in the city. I hadn't left the house for probably 10 days in the city. And then I felt okay. And then I got here, and about a day after I got here, I sort of realized that I didn't have any sense of taste or smell. So, I mean, and then I've just been self-quarantining here. So, I mean, I kind of feel like as long as I'm not getting...
Well, what are your current symptoms?
I have no sense of taste or smell. And I feel kind of achy and tired, but I don't know if that's just because my doctor told me that I really shouldn't be doing anything.
Maybe you have a very mild case and you're lucky.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She said that taste and smell is pretty definitive.
What does it mean? How drastic is the loss of taste?
I mean, I can't taste anything.
Wow.
You mean you could actually eat the lentil soup at the olive tree and not be upset? But seriously, folks.
Wow, Periel, that's but no breathing issues or no respiratory issues.
Thank God, no. I mean, that's really the thing that is sort of, worrisome.
Well, but you should rejoice if in fact you have it, because you're getting what's obviously a very mild case, and you'll be immune.
Yeah, I said the same thing.
I don't know. I feel like it's sort of mercurial. It's sort of mercurial, isn't it? You could suddenly get really sick.
Could you dumb it down for the average listener?
Mercurial?
Yeah, I don't know what that means.
Mercury, quick,
It's wrong. It's something that can change form or shape very quickly, like mercury.
Oh, okay.
Really?
Oh, really?
I mean, wow, guys.
This is it's just fucking the whole thing is terrifying, and I feel horrible for the supermarket employees and the MTA workers. I mean, there's so many fewer cars for the train. Everyone's stuffed in. I mean, you see the footage on the news. People, crazy. And they have to ride the subway to go to supermarkets, to wherever they're working, pharmacies, drugstores. It's everyone lives in Brooklyn and Queens, and they come into Manhattan.
I mean, are those people getting raises?
I started tipping. Dan mentioned to me the other day that he tipped the cashier at the supermarket.
Yeah, we
I started
discussed
tipping.
that, on the
I
last
started tipping
episode.
the cashier at the supermarket and in the deli and also in the pharmacy, in the drugstore. I'm like,
Okay, Periel. I'm looking it up right now in the Mayo Clinic about loss of sense of smell.
Thank you, Dr. Dworman.
Now, listen, it could be coronavirus. However, you could also have a brain tumor,
Yeah.
Parkinson's disease, schizophrenia, Niemann-Pick disease, whatever that is, diabetes, aneurysm,
Great.
early onset Alzheimer's.
I would say that the most likely probability is either corona or some sort of psychosomatic illness.
Or multiple sclerosis. You could have multiple sclerosis.
Jesus fucking Christ.
And it says for Jewish girls, it could also be a latent defect of a rhinoplasty, whatever. Nose job, whatever you call it.
Rhinoplasty.
Is it rhinoplasty? No.
Yeah.
It is. Yeah.
Yeah.
well, Periel, if you were single, I'd tell you to come ride out COVID with me, and I'd make you all better. I'd nurse you back to health.
I could donate some plasma.
Yeah, sure. I could donate some plasma to you. I mean, you don't have a sense of taste anymore, so why not?
It's true, I don't.
Yeah.
According to Noam, I never did.
Well, if you go over with Ray, that would be proof positive. But
You know what? One thing I've come away with, I've been watching Donald Trump's press conferences every day, which I find entertaining. I must admit, generally.
The ratings are killer. Yeah, go ahead.
But one thing I've taken away from this is I don't think he was accused of having Alzheimer's. People have mentioned that possibility. I don't think he has it, because I'm watching these news conferences, and first of all, he can pronounce hydroxychloroquine. I would think that if somebody had Alzheimer's, that'd be a tough word to assimilate into their vocabulary.
I don't think.
But I'm also seeing him. He's just off the cuff. He seems to know all the facts. I'm not saying he's saying anything sensible, although oftentimes I think he is, but he seems to have a reasonable command of the situation. That
Really?
enough of a command to say that he doesn't have Alzheimer's.
Maybe he doesn't have Alzheimer's, but I mean,
Because he was accused of that. People have been saying that, and I just see he seems to really assimilate all the facts of what's going on. Whether you agree with his conclusions or his pronouncements is another issue, but I'm just saying I'm sensing a guy that seems actually kind of sharp.
No, go ahead, Ray. I'll go ahead.
You might be right about that, but what I find most troubling and why I can't watch his press conferences anymore is that in times like this, I don't care. Republican, Democrat means nothing to me. I want leadership. I want some problem solving. That's all I care about. And when Cuomo speaks, I get the facts. There's also a sense of calm. I don't feel that way when I listen to de Blasio. I certainly don't feel that way when I listen to Trump. And I can't watch these press conferences anymore. It's unsettling. And, the other day, Trump he was defensive. He wasn't just kind of laying out the facts. He wasn't being presidential. He was arguing with a reporter. The whole thing sucks. It's an embarrassment.
I agree with you. I really do. I think it's absolutely horrifying that this guy's talking about his ratings when there are tens of thousands of people dying.
What we're seeing here is very interesting, because that's not what Dan was talking about. And what you guys did was take, just Trump as a basic and just drive off into a different area, which kind of ignore what Dan was saying. But I just want to say
we did what Trump did. We pivoted.
That I think that Dan, I had the same thought as Dan, that and it's even, I even think it's even deeper than Dan has expressed. So I think Dan probably thought of it, which is, like a few years ago, we were all being sold that Trump was in serious cognitive decline, and that book by Steele, whatever. No, what was it? Michael? What was the name of was it Steele? No,
whatever it was.
The guy who wrote that book. It's not Michael. Anyway, where he talked about Trump can't read, and Trump. Remember they said that he literally can't read and all this stuff, and then Trump had to take that kind of word association, Alzheimer's test, or whatever it was in the doctor's office, and nobody believed that. And here we are a few years later, and whatever you think about him, it's pretty clear he's not acting like someone who has Alzheimer's. In the meantime, Joe Biden can't even remember the name of Wuhan. You seen this today? And we're pretending, no, there's nothing wrong here. Move along. Nothing to see here. When clearly, if you were to look at these two guys just speaking off the cuff, Trump, who speaks for like an hour straight off the cuff, compared to Biden, who barely can speak 5 minutes, who seems more likely to be in cognitive decline? And that's not to say that Trump is a good candidate. It's nothing that is, Hitler could be in cognitive decline or Mother Teresa could be in cognitive decline. This is not a comment on their merits. But Trump really, Dan's right. He's got the details and numbers, and he remembers the new drugs, and he remembers the name of leaders. And none of this seems to be a guy in cognitive decline at this point, right?
Oh boy.
You're not, I would say you're correct, but I'd rather take somebody who is in slight cognitive decline, who is not a tasteless, brash liar, and I would prefer somebody else. I mean, this is the most embarrassing leader our country has ever had, and 90% of New York City didn't vote for him because we know he's a fucking joke of a human being. I mean, it's embarrassing. We're the greatest country on earth, and this is our guy.
Michael Wolff is the name of the guy who wrote the book. Well, yes, you're right, Ray. He is
embarrassing.
Yeah.
Cuomo, on the other hand, is doing a remarkable job. I mean, he has really stepped up to the plate.
Well, in what sense? I mean, he didn't shut down the city, right away, which maybe would have been helpful.
Agreed. I agree with that.
He didn't do anything on time, but he is, has a great manner. He seems to be a good man.
Yeah, I mean, he has the pedigree. I mean, he comes from that family, and he.
But he really didn't do anything on time. I mean, the governor of Ohio shut down. We talked about this already a few times. The governor of Ohio shut down the schools, and the CDC was recommending no more large gatherings, and there was all sorts of things he just didn't do. I was looking back at my emails, and I was sending emails to people like, why are they shutting down events of 500 or more? There's got to be millions of people meeting in 50 or more. And why haven't they shut the schools down? And I was questioning it at least 2 weeks before he did it. And, I'm no expert on this stuff. So
now everybody is saying that Trump did too little too late. Not that I doubt that yes, that's clearly the case. Did he have information that other people did not have? Because the governors didn't seem like they were doing much better, or Congress, I don't know what they could have done. Did Trump have information that other people did not have?
One would assume.
Go ahead.
One would assume that he did. I mean, he used to have a pandemic team that he got rid of. But if you're following the CDC and the World Health Organization, you would think you're keeping on top of what's going on in the world, particularly with this disease in China. I mean,
the problem is with the Trump stuff. I know people are going to go crazy when I say this, but anything you read is always juiced up a little bit when it comes to the anti-Trump angle. So just like a stupid example, like they're making a big deal out of the fact that Trump said that we can't get back to work by Easter. But they make it sound like he said we'll be back to work by Easter. But I went back and listened to what he said. He's like, it would be great. I hope we can get back. It would be great. It was like that aspirational thing. He didn't tell us. And every single thing they say about him, including the CDC cutting of funds or whatever it is, if you look into it, apparently it didn't actually have any effect. And then even though they did bring some people back from China early on, then they tried to put the people back in China, and China refused. And so you just don't know what is. I mean, I always say that one of the deep lessons I've learned as a boss is that when you're hated, it's very difficult to get a fair shake. And Trump is so hated, you just don't know to what extent the rap sheet against him is exaggerated. I'm sure he did some things wrong. Like even recently, there's now we find out that a bunch of respirators are not working, that were in the stockpile. And I remember thinking a couple of weeks ago, I hope somebody's checking those respirators because they've been sitting there for years, So that's certainly something a president might have thought to do. But I don't know that he didn't do it, Right. I think Trump is supposed to. One thing Trump is pretty clearly not responsible for, which is the most significant thing, is that the CDC tests were faulty. And Trump is clearly not responsible for that. And if the CDC tests had not been faulty, I don't know how serious any of these other things we're busting Trump's balls about would be. Clearly, what the governor didn't do and what the mayor didn't do, we're seeing real consequences from that. If they had shut down New York 2 weeks earlier, you got to believe we'd be 2 weeks back on this curve, right?
Right.
Who's
But
in
that wasn't
charge
Trump's
of
call.
making that decision? Who makes that final call about shutting down the city?
The governor. Well, the city. I don't know. Definitely not the president. The governor and the. I don't know if the mayor had authority to shut down the schools without the governor, but I think the governor has to sign off on everything. I think. Sorry.
Well, I believe that Cuomo said it's up to him if the city shuts down. De Blasio does not have that power. Do you think if the whole country had shut down for 3 weeks, we'd be good? We'd be done with it?
Yes.
No, I don't think we'd be.
I don't know if we'd be done with it, but I watched I emailed it to you guys, that professor from Korea. He sort of, did you watch that?
No.
Great.
Well, summarize it.
I mean, he's considered sort of the preeminent, sort of expert on COVID-19. He is the senior doctor and professor.
Yeah. What'd he say?
That exactly what Ray just said, that like if you shut down everything for 3 weeks, like it's not that everything would go away, but that the peak comes down significantly. The number, and Cuomo said this today also, and that the number of deaths are significantly reduced.
So I don't understand that logic. I think that what the 3 weeks could have bought us was time to get much more extensive testing so that people would stay home. But the fact is that even after we stay inside for 2 months, and if nobody gets it, we're just going to be right back where we started as soon as we all come out of the house again.
Why? Because if everyone stays home, and so we all assume we have it, so we stay at home. After 2 weeks, whether you have it or don't have it, it's run through.
Because we're seeing how many cases are in this country now?
In America, like 180,000.
Yeah. So we're seeing 180,000 cases that started with like 3 or 4.
Right.
And 2 months from now, 3 or 4 cases are going to come back again. Someone's going to drive in, someone's going to fly in, someone was going to not have actually.
But I think it's also about not crashing the healthcare system.
Well, that's what it is.
Yeah.
It's buying time. It's spreading it out.
Right.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah.
And spreading it out in hopes that they'll find better treatment, better testing, and that we can not overload the health system. And if that's the case, then Periel, as I said earlier, and if indeed you have it, you're one of the lucky ones.
Yeah.
Well,
And finding therapies is key because they have a few therapies now there's this I heard it hydrochloroquine, probably I guess it's hydroxychloroquine, and then there's this AIDS medicine they're using. They may have
tested that on Dan Naturman, I think, initially.
Yeah, and also what's the third? Oh, this Ebola medicine that they think might work, and maybe all 3 of them together might work. So if they find some therapy, that could really change everything.
I know several people that are nurses. One of them is now Dan. You met her before, but she now lives in North Carolina. She's married with a little kid, and she went to work, and they said we don't want to give anybody masks. We need these things for patients, whatever. And she put on masks, gloves, everything. She said, if you want to fire me, fire me. I'm not treating anybody without being protected. I couldn't wrap my fucking head around it. I mean, how can doctors and nurses, all these people, not have the protective equipment? It's unimaginable to me. I'd leave. I would walk right out.
I had this argument on the last show. The answer is red tape, by the way. I did some investigating, Mr. Dworman, to answer your question.
Disgraceful.
It's red tape.
Disgraceful.
It's absolutely the worst failure. I mean, it's unconscionable that in this country, we've turned into a third world country. It's like insane.
Take it easy.
Well, and Trump said, they're going to drive up the prices of the ventilators. Remember right when he said, he goes, I have a friend in Tacoma. He said he has a friend in Tacoma, and he was talking about ventilators and how the prices are going to get drived up with competition. I can't even. I mean, that's capitalism at its worst. The people, to drive up the prices of life-saving machines. It's not.
He doesn't want to drive up the prices.
No, but he said it's happening. It's appalling that's something that's capable.
Sticking up.
See, this is the thing. It has to happen to some extent. Otherwise, somebody will buy all the ventilators. And there's this horrible trade-off between rationing and prices rising are a way that things are rationed. I mean, I don't know enough about it, but
no, don't you think
obviously the prices are going to go up if you want somebody to start churning out 100,000 ventilators? They want to make money.
That's fair.
Yeah, and
that's reasonable.
I don't know that price is any object to the government at this point, is it?
Well, supposedly they were saying how if Florida wants ventilators and Rhode Island wants them and New York wants them and they can each compete and push the price up.
Yeah, no, that's right. That's crazy. They shouldn't be competing against each other. That's
right, and that's what I think is happening. And so that's.
But Trump didn't say anything favorable about that, did he?
No, but he should actually denounce it. He should say this is disgraceful. We're going to talk to these companies. I mean, he called out GM for whatever reason.
He also shouldn't be comparing his ratings to The Bachelor.
Right.
Well, that's a whole other thing. But listen, a
whole other thing?
Well, I'll tell you in a second. So what I think about the ventilator thing, without knowing it, this could be stupid, is that obviously I think that the federal government ought to buy all the ventilators, should become the only purchaser of ventilators, and then distribute them to hospitals on an as needed basis, taking them back as the trend changes. It doesn't make sense to have states competing against each other, but maybe that's naive in some way. I don't know.
I think it makes perfect sense.
It seems to make perfect sense, but there's always things maybe that you don't understand or don't know.
Well, you could be a member of my cabinet one day, Noam.
As far as the ratings thing, Trump was making a point in a kind of psychotic way, but the article that he was quoting was saying that, and there's a movement out that we shouldn't be covering Trump's press conferences anymore, which I think is fucking ridiculous.
Except that he's like spewing out like misinformation, isn't he?
He's the president, and he's in charge, and you have to cover. You don't have to, but you're supposed to cover his press conference, and then you have the other 23 hours and 30 minutes of the day to correct him if he says something that's not true. Trump was saying that, listen, everybody's tuning in to my press conferences. My ratings are higher than The Bachelor, blah, blah, blah. And they're talking about not covering it. Obviously, if the ratings are huge, it means that the people of the country want to watch this. And these elite journalists are going to say, no, we're going to decide what you get to see and what you don't get to see. And Don Lemon says, we're going to watch it, and then we'll cut it up however we think, and we'll show you what we think you ought to see. But we didn't vote Don Lemon. I'm not saying we all voted for Trump. I'm just saying, like, he's the president. Like, you're the journalist. Your job is to cover the president, not to decide for us what we should see and what we shouldn't see. So that's what, and if you look at Trump's tweets, he had like 4 or 5 tweets in a row. And the one about The Bachelor was the last tweet. And it's a perfect example. So they take the last tweet and they use that to criticize him. And he does deserve criticism for it. However,
so that's it.
But they're still guilty of not giving the full context, which makes the criticism, doesn't wipe away the criticism, but it puts it in context that he's being Trump and his dumb self, but he's also making a point, which they didn't cover the point at all. They just covered the tweet.
It's gross.
It's gross.
All right.
What do you think about the conspiracy theory that about germ warfare?
What?
Noam is not on board with that theory.
The germ warfare theory?
No, I don't believe germ warfare.
Noam, what's your best guess if you had to look into your crystal ball about when the Comedy Cellar will the Comedy Cellar reopen?
By the way, I'll tell you that in a second. Can I give one more example to invite everybody to look it up online? So you remember that time that Trump got in trouble for berating that NBC reporter, and he says, Mr. Trump, what do you want to tell the people of America who were scared? And Trump said, I want to tell them you're a terrible reporter, blah, blah, blah. And it looked so horrible, right? But then I went and looked up the actual exchange. There's like 3 or 4 minutes prior to that where the reporter is just cross-examining Trump in a really smug way. So then all of a sudden I realized that at the end, when Trump lost it, and he shouldn't have, he wasn't reacting to that question. It was the last straw in literally like a 4-minute exchange. And they don't report that context. They just want to take that one kernel, and it's a subtle thing for people to understand, which is that I'm not saying that means that there's not a reason to criticize him for the way he reacted. But it's still different than if it happened the way they reported it, which is like he just asked a question and Trump just went off on him. That's not what it was. The question wasn't sincere. The question was the guy's last punch at Trump, and Trump got mad and inappropriately spoke to the reporter. Now, when is the Comedy Cellar going to open again? I don't know, Dan. Maybe never. I don't know.
Don't say that.
I don't think it'll be never. I think you're succumbing to depressive thinking, which is classic. People think that the situation that they're currently in is never going to end. And
when are you going to get laid again, Dan?
Pardon?
When are you going to get laid again? Say it. Maybe never.
No, it won't be maybe never.
As soon as
I don't get that much anyway, as I guess you're alluding to. But
I was just setting you up.
Maybe it'd be another 4-year run or whatever it is, Dan. That could be, why not?
Well, I'm at my age. I feel like I don't have that many years left to get anybody good, so I probably should make the most of it. But,
even with these Blue Chew ads we started to do? Even with these Blue Chew ads that we started to do?
I don't mean because I'm physically incapable. I mean because I'm old. And
You have less desire?
I'm less desirable, perhaps.
Oh.
Less desire and less desire.
And here it comes about how I was never desirable, which...
Hey, you guys are both clean shaven and all. I mean, you don't...
because I'm trying to, I'm trying to act as though it's a normal day, because that's how you fall into the trap that Noam was talking about just kind of lounging around at home and feeling like a piece of garbage.
Well, no, you have to start counting your blessings, honey. There are so many people that would switch places with you in a fucking heartbeat right now.
I'd love to be living in Guitar City right now, like you.
Talking to me or Dan?
You. I'm saying you have to start counting your blessings. You can't get into a funk. You're very lucky. With your brain, start trying to solve the mask problem in New York City.
That's
a very good use of your time.
I think we all have a new appreciation for Anne Frank after all of this. Is that fair to say?
Yeah.
I would never do well in prison. But every time I go for a walk outside, I feel like I'm being let out in the yard. And
it's very hard to keep 6 feet in New York City. Maybe knowing where you are, you can do it, but you're walking down the street and you got to cross the street. Used to be you only cross the street when a black guy was coming at you. Now you're crossing the street,
Did you just say that?
No, it's a joke.
So can I just be very clear about something, because I know that some people listen to this and they're gonna hate me. I don't know. I don't think I would have a tough time making a case that Trump is handling this well.
Okay.
There's nothing. Yeah, hold on. There's nothing in particular that he's done. I'm like, well, look, that was good. He took credit for shutting down the border with, shutting down travel from China early on. But that's just kind of like his go-to move. So I think he got lucky with that one.
I think he did. Had it been, go ahead. Sorry.
He talked down the virus, but as did everybody. That's the kind of thing that bothers me. Like de Blasio was actually telling everybody, don't worry about this. Go out, have a good time, go to club. Like literally, like saying you can only get this if you're around it a long time. Like you've heard all the stuff de Blasio was saying, right? Hold on. Right. So he got that, but even de Blasio got that from somewhere. So, so Trump was guilty of talking down the severity of the virus. But given the fact that most other countries are doubling their cases at about the same rate as America, including Germany and obviously Italy and France and England, and now even Sweden may have to reconsider their policies. It's pretty clear that, I think I said this before, that the absence of Trump does not make a huge difference in how this virus hits. And because of that, there's something about me which just recognizes that there's something not fair-minded about trying to hang this around Trump's neck, because we're seeing the same thing in countries that have very capable leaders who understood this, and they haven't done much better, which would imply that there's something way more going on here than Trump's dumb decisions.
Well, I think that also people have a psychological need to figure out who's responsible for something. And at times, something will happen that is just not anybody's fault. I don't know if this is one of those times, and I haven't investigated, too meticulously, the whole thing, but sometimes just shit happens, and that's that. And no one is to blame, to quote the great Howard Jones. So this may be one of those times, where we got, something horrible happened that we couldn't, that nobody could have reasonably. I don't know, had Obama been in office, what would have been different? I don't know. Probably there would have been a somewhat better reaction. Maybe there would have been more testing ready to go.
No, I don't. That's the one thing I don't. Doesn't seem to me that Trump is really responsible for with these tests being bad. And then, of course, I don't understand. Like, there's the CDC and the FDA, and the FDA didn't want to allow private labs to do the testing. And I'm not clear as to where Trump is in that power structure. And I'm also not clear whether he has the expertise to make those decisions. Like, if somebody went to him and said, if Fauci said, Mr. President, I think you should immediately tell the FDA they should allow private labs to test, I think Trump would say, yeah, go ahead, do it. And if he didn't do it, I think we'd read about the fact that Trump resisted it. So I don't, he's not a doctor. He doesn't know. But
didn't he get rid of his pandemic team that Obama?
No, you should read about that. That's all like, they cut some, when Bolton came in and they cut some money, but there was an article in the Washington Post by the guy who worked in that office. And he said, they keep saying that this happened. I was there. That's not what happened. It's in the Washington Post. I'll find it in a second. You go ahead.
Is the meat? You go ahead.
Well, I was just saying, supposedly on February 24th, he had said, the coronavirus is very much under control in the USA. Stock market's starting to look very good. February 25th, the CDC might have.
We know, Ray. We know he said all those things.
Right. So he said all this stuff. It's like, so it's hard to give a guy credibility. Look, the buck has to stop with somebody. And in this case, I think it's the president. He's not responsible for the thing. But the handling of it and the leadership.
Yeah, I think that's really more the case. It's like the handling of it and the way he talks about it.
What would
Cuomo. Just look at Cuomo. That's it.
Okay, so here's an example. This isn't even what I was looking for. This is the Washington Post fact checker, Glenn Kessler, who is no friend of Trump's. And this is the headline here. No, Trump didn't shut down 37 global anti-pandemic programs. But this stuff passes into the conventional wisdom. And I'll find the other article in a second. Go ahead.
Is Me Too on hold, by the way, pending the resolution of the corona crisis?
Now's the time. If you are going to commit a Me Too, now's the time.
Ray Ellin, your sound is not good.
I said, if you are going to commit a Me Too, now is the time to do so. Because there's plenty of other distractions.
Have a long incubation period. You can commit a Me Too, and 10 years later, you can get in trouble for it. But I'm just saying, right now, if anybody came forward and said so and so touched me, I think basically
nobody.
It's terrible, but we don't have time for that right now.
Well, you know what, Dan? I think that means that Me Too has a longer incubation period than COVID-19. And by the way, I understand you messed around with some COVID-17s, in which case you will be going to jail, my friend.
Oh, Ray.
You will be quarantined and good.
Ray, isn't that one of your Facebook posts? Don't reuse your Facebook posts on the podcast.
I never posted that on Facebook.
Well, where'd you post it?
Nowhere. I was gonna, but I didn't. I saved it for the podcast, Dan.
What's going on in Aruba? I mean, the viewers might not all know, and the listeners that
they closed the border. You cannot go into Aruba unless you are a Dutch citizen or an Aruban citizen, or you have a resident card. They have a curfew there from 9 p.m. to 6 a.m. You cannot be out of your house. Supermarkets are open. Some restaurants are open for takeout only. You can go to the beach. But the curfew was the interesting part. They were afraid of there being some crime. All the hotels are empty.
Go to the so you have a comedy club in Aruba
Inside a hotel, so that's obviously nothing's going on there.
Okay, no, I'm just giving background.
Yeah. And they have that's why I'm called.
Okay, and Ray, so here's the other one. This is Washington Post. Why does it always revert to that? Anyway, it says, no, the White House didn't dissolve its pandemic response office. I was there. This is an article by senior fellow who was part of the pandemic office, I think. So, like, this is why, you know, it's very difficult to find out true information. It's kind of like the Russia thing. What happened to Ray?
It was Aruba Ray.
I'm listening.
Or Corona Ray.
Ray, what the fuck? Get back here.
I'm listening. Sorry.
Nobody cares if you're listening. You're supposed to be. People at home are listening.
Sorry.
All right. There's one other very important thing that I saw, and I really think this is worth showing everybody, and then we can talk about it because it's really kind of disturbing.
I also want to talk about the latest with hydroxychloroquine.
I just woke up. I had a great dream that the phrase social distancing didn't exist anymore, that people just called it staying the fuck away from each other.
I'm sorry for people who have children at home. That is so. Ray, what was going through your head when you posted that?
I was very sleep deprived. I've not been sleeping at all, horribly. Last night I slept, but the hours are erratic, and I just kind of woke up and I was thinking about the whole social distancing, and I hate that phrase. It's horrible, and I just sort of filmed it and put it up, but it seemed to get people seem to agree. Got a big response on Insta.
What do you mean a good response?
We got lots of views. But
Yes.
I just sort of,
Why don't you take a picture of yourself? Why don't you take a video of yourself taking a crap on Instagram and how many views that gets?
some people got a kick out of that post, So
I've watched it like 10 times. So
I mean, we've aired it twice on here, so it's
been
Well,
played
because the video has Ray with no shirt on, which is part of the charm of the video.
Oh, okay.
And I don't know if that what people find the most interesting, the words that you were saying, or the nipples,
or the background. I don't think you can see my bosom in that.
The hearts were in that video as well.
But my bosom, I don't think you can see. I think you see.
Maybe not. Maybe not.
Yeah. I have to say, I have a beard, and I don't want to get too into this, but I haven't shaved because, as you guys know, my oldest sister passed away, and you're not supposed to shave for a month after a funeral. That's why I haven't shaved, and it looks horrible and it feels horrible, but
I actually think it looks really nice.
Wait,
Really?
what's the period that you're not allowed to shave?
it's supposed to be for a month first.
This is under Jewish law, obviously. We're just to explain to people that don't know.
Right.
I just want to bust Ray's balls one last time, so I'm playing with technology. So this picture.
We can't. Can you guys see anything? I'm seeing a black screen.
Yeah, I see a black screen. What are you seeing?
Oh, why did you guys tell me?
I tried to tell
Well, we
you.
heard the audio. That was
There
okay.
you go.
Oh, okay. So hold on, I'll play that one again. I'm sorry, I on the wrong screen. So that's why I want. Okay, doesn't
Not
matter.
everybody is listening sees the video, so please explain what you're showing.
So, okay, so this is the only thing I want to say here is that this is a picture of Andrew Dice Clay, David Tell, and Jeff Ross. But Ray, it really does kind of look like you're photoshopped in that picture. Look at that. I mean,
That's funny. I was really there.
it really doesn't look like a Photoshop.
Yes.
All right, and now let me just, for the people who are watching this on video, I won't play the thing again, but I do think people want to see it, which is because it's really jarring. Is this? So the other time, so I was showing those headlines in the Washington Post. You guys didn't see those either.
No, we couldn't see him.
Oh fuck. Okay.
I think, you know what? A lot of people wrote me, and I got invitations to have lovemaking sessions after that video. So
Ray Ellin, at
everybody's
the
got
risk
their own
of getting
thing.
into a sensitive topic, if you're not allowed to shave
Yeah.
whilst you're in mourning,
Yeah.
what about sex? I mean, you would think that that would be part of the mourning period as well.
Probably. Well, that I'm not having anyway because of this. I'm gonna be honest with you. This have to be isolated for me personally for this time has been a fucking nightmare because now's when I want to be in person with my family and friends and I can't, and it sucks. But that being said, I mean things like sex are off the table anyway. I don't want to and I can't with this thing going on.
I mean, I would think that if you're in mourning and you're lacing into a 22-year-old NYU student, I mean, yeah, sure, you're not shaven, but I would imagine Hashem is out there, God, the Most High, and he's got to be shaking his head. And
Shaking his head
is
in
not
disgust?
appropriate.
Not appropriate. Correct. Well, thank goodness I haven't done that.
How are you doing, Ray? I mean, if we could just discuss it briefly.
You know, I'm going to be honest with you. Today's probably the day I felt the best.
Christ, Noam, he's talking about his sister just passed away.
Why? What happened?
That's Periel. Look
It's a picture of Periel naked.
Where?
on the screen. You don't see it, Ray?
No, my screen froze.
Oh, sorry. So sorry.
The only bush I trust is my own.
That's my first book. I was 28 there.
That's weird. My whole screen froze.
I have that effect on people sometimes.
Okay, go ahead. Sorry.
No, I wonder if I got. Yeah,
Ray
can you
Ellin, I
guys see
can't
me
see
move?
his face, his pretty face.
Can you see me right now?
Not right now, no.
I
so
can
weird.
see you,
Sort
but
of-
he's frozen.
Did you press share screen, Ray?
No.
All right, go
But
ahead.
your
So
audio's
we got to
still
wrap it
fine.
up anyway. So go ahead. We'll do the rest without your face. Go ahead.
Dan just said, "How am I doing?" It's today has been probably the day that I felt the best. Maybe because I had a fairly busy day, but overall I feel pretty horrible. But I think that's to be expected, unfortunately. It sucks. It's a terrible, shocking, unexpected thing, and I wish I could be with my folks, but I can't. So it is what it is. I could fly to Florida, but I think that'd be dumb to do, and run the risk of putting them at risk. So what can you do?
I mean, I'd had this thought too. Like, if I get sick and die now,
Oh, God.
I'm not even gonna be able to have a funeral. I will not even be able to have a funeral. My kids won't even get to have a decent funeral for their dad.
Well, your kids at their age are probably too young for a funeral anyway.
Yeah, they're not allowed to go to a funeral anyway.
When I went to my sister's
What do you mean
funeral,
they're not allowed to go to a funeral?
You
They're
don't
allowed,
take
but at
kids
their age,
that
I don't
young
know.
to funerals.
Was it John F. Kennedy Jr. at the funeral?
He's not Jewish.
He was. You're saying
My
Jewish-
kids are barely Jewish. They converted. We're not gonna obey Jewish law. Of course, they're gonna go to the funeral when I die.
Well, because when you die, they'll be older. But if you died now, we're saying they're
If I
very
die
young.
now, they're going.
What about even
Jesus
Flash, the little one?
Christ, what is wrong with you?
Is
Nothing-
Flash going to give a eulogy? He's 3 years old.
I wonder who would do. No one. There's not gonna be any funeral if it happens now.
That's
Yeah,
right.
we can do
We're
it
gonna
by
put you
Zoom.
in a refrigerator.
We could do it by Zoom, no.
Well, we're having a little. Not a bad idea. We're having a little crisis now because our Nicholas, our 25-year-old son, when we decided to shut the house down, I said, okay, this is the day we're shutting it down. This is like 2 weeks before they close everything, and I said, if you leave now, you can't come back until there's the testing such that you can get the test and come straight home. You'll get the answer in the doctor's office. We'll put you up in a motel. There's a motel in Ardsley. And he said, no, I have to work at GameStop. I'm like, all right. So then he went to work at GameStop. Now GameStop is shut. He's in the motel and he wants to come home. And his mother's pressuring me to let him come home. He's like, he's been in his room for 14 days. So I don't know if he has or he hasn't. I don't know if I can believe him. And I mean, it's not like he's out on the street. We're paying, $80 a day for him to stay at the RZ Acres Motel. He has food and everything. He's not suffering. He's just home alone. He's in a room alone with video games. So I don't think it's being cruel, but I don't want to take the chance. I'm so scared of getting sick.
Yeah. Well, after 2 weeks, would you let him come in the house?
I don't know if I can believe.
But Noam doesn't know that he's really quarantining himself.
Or that he even knows what that means. Like, he might have gone out to get laid. He might have shake hands with a delivery person. Who knows what he's doing,
Right.
And of course, his mother is pressuring me to let him come back.
Well, what if he comes back and stays for another 2 weeks in a different room from you in the basement or so? I don't know.
Listen, they're going back and forth on this death thing. Like, let's say it's 2%, which nobody. Am I going to take a 2 out of 100 chance of dying so that this kid doesn't have to say it? Huh?
2% is the overall risk. When we factor in the fact that you're not diabetic, hypertensive, you never smoked.
I'm hypertense.
You know, you don't have diabetes, whatever the things are. When we factor all that in, I would estimate your chance of dying from corona as approximately 0.5 of 1%.
Okay,
You don't know that.
So what we said is,
I just threw that out. Obviously, I don't know that, but
You don't know that.
Let's say it's 0.51%, which is equivalent of if every 1 out of every 200 airplanes crashed. There would be no commercial airlines if 1 out of 200 crashed. That would be enough that not a single person would take a commercial airline.
You're absolutely right. I just saw today, it's like if you knew that there were 3 poison Skittles in a jar of 100 Skittles, would you take a handful?
Well, the analogy, the plain analogy is enough. We don't need to get into Skittles. We don't make the point adequately with aircraft. I mean, well, we could talk about Snickers bars, but we get the point that's been made.
Well, but listen, it really depends how compelling it is to do whatever it is. Like if there was 3 out of 100 women might have herpes, I'd probably still take my chances, right, Ray?
Well, herpes won't kill you.
That's my point. Like, well, okay, it won't kill you. Yeah, if 3 out of women had a deadly disease, you're right. I would.
Had fire-breathing AIDS.
Huh?
Fire-breathing AIDS.
Fire-breathing AIDS?
Yeah. If somebody had fire-breathing AIDS, would you have sex with them?
But I mean, it's like Skittles is easy to give up. That's all I'm saying. Airlines are important.
No, there's another issue as well. Even if you don't die, you're liable to have a very bad week indeed.
Yeah.
Even if they could guarantee me I wouldn't die, but I would go through a week of some of the worst cases that I've heard. And I go on YouTube and I scare myself every day. This is what I do with my time, listening to people's testimony about their COVID. Now, a lot of people, it's no big deal. And maybe Periel had it and it was no big deal. But for some people, the description is so horrifying that I don't want it, even if I don't die from it.
I just don't think they know enough yet either. Stop.
Can we talk briefly about the lake? Yeah, go ahead, Noam.
I just saw something I can't believe. I almost don't want to show it. It's a picture of Periel.
Naked?
That doesn't look like Periel. We're like 30 pounds heavier.
Where's the picture?
She was heavier, then she was heavier.
Is it the one from my NBC interview?
Yeah.
I was 9 months pregnant.
That'll do it.
Oh, okay. That's okay. Never mind.
Can we talk about the latest with hydroxychloroquine or Quinn or whatever?
Thank you for not showing that. It was bad enough I had to go on national television looking like that.
No, pregnant is different. No, you can't judge it if it's pregnant. So yeah, and not only the symptoms for a week, Dan, but the stress for a week.
Well, the thing is that it starts off usually with a light, like, flu or cold, and you don't know how it's going to go.
Yeah.
So as I've said before, the flu has the decency of just showing you its cards all at once, whereas this thing gives you a little bit of a flu, kind of fucking with you, and then it's like you don't know when that right hand is coming out and if it's coming out.
Yeah.
So 4 days later, people are talking about they feel a little bit better, and then the next day they're they have the worst muscle pain they've ever even imagined. And then they have shortness of breath, so it's horrifying. Noam Dworman wants to show us something. Oh, there's Periel in what looks like a dominatrix outfit or something.
Oh, my.
What is wrong with you? That's my grandma. I spoke to Jeffrey Gurian.
Oh,
yeah,
okay. Yeah, he was a guest on the podcast once or twice. And
so Jeffrey Gurian is does comedy interviews. What's his website?
Comedy Matters.
Comedy Matters.
So he's in his early 70s. He was in ICU, I believe, with COVID. Yeah. Now he's back home. And Periel, you have spoken with him?
I did. I spoke to him, and he said that he's feeling better, and he's still very weak, but he was just happy to be out of the ICU, which he called a quote unquote nightmare.
Well, the poor guy, he also, like a year or 2 years ago, almost died of a heart condition, some sort of heart defect. And a heart attack.
He had a heart attack. Yeah.
Well, that's comforting to know that if he can survive COVID, even with a pre-existing heart condition and being 73, I believe.
Is he 73? Wow.
I believe so. That's according to Wikipedia. Then, you know, I guess that's good news in a way.
He has a Wikipedia article?
Well, you can write your own Wikipedia article. I believe Ray Ellin has one. I think it says up and coming, one of the funniest men out there.
I don't believe I didn't write that. I got that problem when I was doing.
I don't have a Wikipedia page.
You could write one, and
I would never write my own.
Unless someone
I'll
takes it off.
I'll write it when we get off. I'll write your Wikipedia.
No, I don't want one. I don't want one.
Just kidding. I wasn't really.
What would it say? The abrasive, divisive owner of the most famous comedy club in the world. No,
you know, I think about that a lot because I know I'm abrasive and divisive, and I don't mean to be. I'm not like that. Like, I don't have fights with friends, and I'm still friends with people from the third grade. I'm not like I'm a difficult person.
Oh no.
I think that just most people either just put themselves, they decide who they are, like what tribe or whatever, to use a cliche at this point, and they just repeat whatever it is that the people who are on their team say with very little questioning. I think that's most people. And then there's some other people who have thoughts, and like Jill Malamed, you know, Jill, the waitress who's working in the Olive Tree, like her thoughts are pretty like mine, but she'll keep them to herself because she doesn't want to be that person who says what she thinks. And I just think like I'm just a person who is kind of always thinking of things from every side. And I try not to get sucked into any kind of bias, even though we're always all victims of our own bias. And then whatever I think of, I feel like I can say it because I'm not ashamed of. Like, why should I be ashamed to say that I think they were exaggerating something about Trump? Like,
well, I don't think that's what Ray Ellin means by abrasive. I think when you're busting his balls about his videos and his heart.
People love me for my Ray Ellin jokes.
I don't mind. That doesn't bother me. But in general,
I'm the great unifier.
I'm referring to a man who screams at a waiter because he served them a glass of water in a glass that wasn't up to Noam's standards. And meanwhile, Noam stocked his Olive Tree restaurant with the glassware. It's not the kid's fault.
Ray, you know what? You know what's really disappointing about what you're doing?
What?
You're really still upset because I really did lose my shit at Ray. I really lost my shit at Ray when he tried to pin the
that was a misunderstanding.
Yeah, but you tried to pin and you told
No. I said it was on the network and the booker. I didn't say you.
You said I said I don't know, ask Noam. But anyway, I don't remember losing my shit at a waiter about a glass of water.
You and I had a meeting around 5 p.m. in the afternoon. You brought a glass of water. You said to the kid something like, or you said to him like, let's not use these glasses. And then he brought you, it was a plastic cup. And you started screaming about it. And he said, no more plastic cups at all.
When it comes to his business, this is certainly possible. When it comes to the Comedy Cellar, yes, Noam.
You don't understand. He got off easy. You know how many fucking times I told them not to use those fucking plastic glasses. And that's why I said throw them out. Because I've told them that especially when I'm with somebody, I don't not only want, if somebody wants a water, like if I'm socializing with somebody, I want them to bring, even though it's just water, I want them to bring them a glass bottle of water, not even the plastic Poland Spring bottle of water. We had a staff meeting about this, and then he comes out with these like old, I didn't know we still had them, these old plastic glasses of tap water. I'm like, what the fuck? We just spoke about this. And that's why I said, just throw them out. They were using them for some. There was some use that made sense because you can't stack the glass glasses.
Right.
They break. So there is sometimes we need to make the compromise of using the plastic glasses in certain situations. So that's why we have them. But then, whatever. I just couldn't fucking get the glasses to come out right.
It was a real casino moment.
You don't fucking know. You don't understand what it's like, Ray. Takes a tender man. It takes a tough man to make a tender chicken.
Hey, I'm dealing with in Aruba. in Aruba, things don't always happen lickety split when you need something.
Yeah.
You know, you can't find a microphone stand when yours gets broken by Robert Kelly. You know, it's hard to find one on an island.
Do you go to therapy, Ray?
Yeah, of course.
What do you talk about?
Relationships, family, primarily that.
What have you and your therapist identified as like the 2 or 3 issues you really want to work on?
Well, I mean, it depends what's going on. Right now, I've been mostly talking about the situation with my sister.
No, I don't mean that.
But
I mean,
other than that,
you know,
it's just probably working out things that happened when I was a kid. You know, the way Dan Naturman's father touched me inappropriately when I was a child at summer camp.
Were you molested?
I was not molested.
So what? All right, all right, whatever.
No,
What do you go? Wait, Noam, do you go to therapy?
No,
you do not.
No.
Periel, do you?
I have. I'm not right now. Noam doesn't believe that therapists are real, that it's a real job. He thinks that anybody can be a therapist.
Coming from the man who screamed at a young boy over a plastic cup. All right.
No.
I didn't. What I said to Periel was, I've said on the podcast, is that if I pretended to be a bartender and showed up, you would know in 2 seconds I don't know how to make drinks. If I showed up to fix your toilet as a plumber, you would know in 2 seconds I don't know a fucking thing about plumbing. But if I put on a suit and tie and you came into my office and I told you I was a therapist, you would come to see me for 15 years. You would never know a single thing about therapy, and you would swear that I helped you. All right, this is a profession which helps people. And now, of course, my dear friend Erica Commissar is going to come on the show, and she's a therapist, and she does have insight. But I'm just very skeptical that that this is more than emotional intelligence for $75 an hour. That's really what it is.
Well, I think it's
$250.
Whatever. I'm just saying, is it somebody who has insight, someone who's not a total narcissist, who's a little empathetic, can talk to you about your problems, and then you feel better when you talk about your problems, and that's therapy.
Well, I think that they help you often look at things in a way that maybe you didn't look at them before, and help you sort out the issues. And also, it is a different relationship than just talking to a friend. I mean, I think that ideally, a good therapist will be brutally honest with you. I mean,
skills involved, and they're directing. You know, if you buy into the science, they're directing the conversation in ways that maybe you don't perceive.
Right.
Now, but I do think that a large part of the skill set is to be able to listen to people and not to, you know, you're listening. I mean, I happen to be interesting, but you know, most people are droning on and on about their lives, and you got to pay attention to this. And you can only imagine how just boring it is.
I bet you if I was a therapist, I would look forward to my Ray Ellin sessions, though.
I think they're good. They're very interesting, and
the whole time you'd be thinking, this guy don't get it.
Do you go to see that same therapist that all the comedians go to?
No, I think it's.
What's his name again?
I forgot.
I don't know, but I know about him. But there's a
therapist that several comedians go to. I don't know how many, but many comedians go to the same guy.
What's his name again?
I'm like the comedy therapist. I forgot his name.
And Rick? I don't know what his name is.
I forgot his name.
You should have him on. He's probably fascinating.
Probably be happy to come on. But that seems weird to me. I agree with Ray to go to therapy that all your friends are going to, especially if you're going to be talking about them, because you talk about people in your life. Certainly Ray Ellin has come up in my therapy.
Really?
I don't get this guy. He bangs constantly.
I was going to go to a therapist. You know, he called me asking me if I wanted to come see him, which was weird. But I was going to go come see him, and I was just going to try to pull off the ultimate practical joke, which is to, you know, go in there and say, yeah, you know, like my friend Robert, he's supposed to be not drinking, but he actually goes every so often, and he gets drunk, and then he doesn't come back and tell his wife. Like, just starts spreading like little disinformation
Oh, that's interesting.
about all the comedians, like naively, as if I didn't know who his clients were.
Yeah,
That's very funny.
And stick to that for like 6 months. That would literally be the best practical joke ever to have happened. But
Robert go to him.
Robert goes to him, yeah.
Yeah, I just don't. I don't understand. You know, the therapist probably hears over and over, and all these comedians. You know, and I have to work at this place, and all the staff there treat you like shit, and the manager there is so nasty to everybody, and she's always in a bad mood, and the he's screaming about dishware. You know, probably hear those stories quite a bit.
It was a therapist. We got to go. In the therapist in Gary Goldman's documentary.
Is that right?
Yeah.
That therapist should be fired and banned from being a therapist.
Why?
You know, is he helping them?
Gary seems to have been helped a lot, yeah.
Oh, okay, good. I'm glad to hear that.
Why do you think he's not? I mean, the issues that Gary struggles with, he'll always struggle with, I think.
No, I don't know. I was referring. Well, I think the way he treats certain people is.
All right. Don't start.
Uh-huh. I said it to his face, so you know it's public. It's whatever.
Say it to his face. This is not to his face.
All right, you can edit this part out.
I don't know how to edit.
Oh, fantastic! All right, you stick to leather garments.
Did you get the picture I sent you?
I did.
And
I do remember her now.
All right, ladies and gentlemen,
Wait, this is Noam. I wanted to talk briefly about the latest going on with the hydroxychloroquine.
Okay, go ahead.
Because there was a new study in China, albeit on a very small group of people, apparently, that said that in fact, hydroxychloroquine isn't very effective once the disease is advanced, once COVID is advanced, but if administered early, it'd be very helpful in keeping it from getting to an advanced stage, at least according to the study out of China, I think out of Wuhan, actually. And it was in the New York Times talked about it today. So, that's what I don't know, what validity it is. And
well, it does look promising. And I heard a doctor on TV say that they asked him, how come you haven't gotten it yet? And he says, I don't know, but I've been taking the Polax. What's the brand name?
Paquinol, I think.
Paquinol. I've been taking the Paquinol, and he thinks maybe that's the reason. And I heard somebody say that that we really ought to be told, like, there's got to be a statistic already. How many doctors who are taking Paquinol?
Plaquenil.
How many doctors taking hydroxychloroquine have avoided getting sick? Like,
I think they're working on. I think they're working on all those, statistics, and maybe in a week or whatever it would be, or 2 weeks or 4 weeks, they'll have more answers. But if I had to guess, I would say that it would at least be of some therapeutic value. If not, I don't think a silver bullet, but I would imagine it would at least be one of the tools in the tool chest.
Well, it could be a silver bullet.
Well, that would be wonderful.
I mean, people die of strep throat, but penicillin is a silver bullet. Like, if you have a therapy which can really totally change the prognosis, that would change everything. I wouldn't be scared of getting it if I knew that I could just take the drug and be okay.
What do you guys make of the fact that, if we have the most cases of this thing in the world, so over 180,000 in America, and the deaths are roughly 3,500. So we have the percentage here of the fatalities are much, much lower than in other parts of the world.
Well, some of those people, some of those cases are not done yet, and people might die. You cited a certain number of cases, so some of those cases are still going on.
Right, but Italy has about a 10% fatality rate. We're at around 2%. Other countries at 6%, 7%. Is it because we're giving them much better health care, or is it just sort of
Italy's population is much older.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that the people who died there were older than the people who are dying here. I think that's contributing to those numbers as well.
Also, Germany's death rate and Korea's death rate are lower than ours, I think.
I think Norway had a very low death rate.
A lot of it's to do with A lot of it's to do with how many people are being tested. So so you know exactly how many cases there are.
Well, if any, but Dan, I would think that there are probably more people, far more than 100,000 people have it.
Yes.
But it's still the number, but the deaths are the number of deaths. So if it's 3,500 deaths and they estimate 180,000 cases, it could be 230,000 cases, which makes the fatality rate even lower.
It's probably lower.
That's actually correct, Ray. And I think that you could venture to actually double that number.
So that's very promising.
We've made news here tonight.
Yeah. What do you say?
We've made news here tonight. Periel thinks we can actually double the number. Let's get that out to the population now.
That's funny. But I think it's bizarre. It's a zombie movie. I mean, it's crazy.
It totally is.
I just remembered about the guy spitting behind. I had forgotten about it for about the past 45 minutes. And I just remembered again that the guy spit behind me, and now I'm anxious again. I'm going to have to go online and Google.
Stop reading about, did he spit on the floor?
Spit on the sidewalk, but like I heard him and spitting behind me.
You're fine.
They bounce. The viruses are very rubbery. They bounce.
So I don't know if because I was facing the other way. So you have to be facing it?
Yeah, it didn't go up your back and into your nose and mouth. You're fine.
No. It goes up your shoulder and it rolls over, Dan.
Is it like
a magic bullet
assassination?
Yeah.
It's a magic virus?
When someone walks by me and when I'm walking on the sidewalk and they're on the outer part and they don't move, they're walking too close to me, I turn my head and I cough in my arm as an excuse to get my face out of the way. I don't think you
need an excuse nowadays, Ray. You can be very upfront about it, and everybody we're all on the same page here. People walk, they see me coming, and it's not because I look intimidating. They walk away, and I get it, and I do the same.
It's not because you look intimidating; it's because you look like unhealthy.
You have COVID, yeah. My neighbor.
Well, whatever it is, we're all avoiding each other, and I think it's okay to not. You don't need an excuse to turn your head. We all get it.
I really want you guys to wear masks when you go outside.
I bought a mask. I have it. I could model it for you.
Yeah, model it. Let's see.
All right, 1 second.
I ran into my neighbor in the hallway, and she really started like screaming at me to get out of the way. She wanted to walk down the hall, and I just didn't. I said, "All right, no problem." I didn't really. People are really on edge. Oh.
Okay, it's I don't know what you call it. But
it's like a painter's mask.
Yeah, it looks like a paint, like when you're working with fiberglass.
Looks like you're wearing a jock strap.
Yeah. So again, I guess it's of some value. I don't know. Should I hang it up?
Yeah.
Like, how do I hang it up for maximum
hygiene? Just like that.
And how long can I use it before it's no good anymore?
Well, I mean,
it costs me $4. I don't want to throw it away right away.
Well, I think I would guess that the cheap ones you can use forever. The N95 masks, because they have a respirator, I think they're good for 8 hours.
Oh, you're supposed to get the N95. You're supposed to get rid of every 8 hours.
Yeah, that's why there's such a shortage of them, because you can't reuse them.
Holy shit!
Yeah.
Wow.
Like a filter.
Dan, it's better than nothing. What you're using.
Well, Trump said to wear your scarf, so if needs be. And he wasn't wrong, by the way. It's better than nothing,
But why the fuck was it the World Health Organization and the CDC? They were telling us don't wear masks.
Yeah.
They didn't want us because they didn't want us to use masks that the doctors needed. Was the reason for that, I believe.
Isn't it? It's just amazing to me. We're supposed to be the best at everything, and I mean, South Korea they hit a home run. They handled it.
First of all, who said we're the best at everything? We're not the best at bobsledding.
No, we are not.
All right.
No, we are not. But supposedly we're number one.
We're not the best at curling. The Canadians got that racket sewed up.
You know who I think would have handled this situation very well? You know who would have handled it nicely? Michael Bloomberg. You know who else might have? And this has nothing to do with politics. Bloomberg or Giuliani, I think, would have handled this very well, just based on what happened with 9/11.
Well, I think Cuomo's doing a phenomenal job.
I think so.
It's not about being the best at everything. I don't think America's the best at everything. We have the best system.
We don't. Our system is.
And you cannot judge But our kind of freewheeling system can get caught off guard, like we were, during the World Wars. But there was no question that if you were to allow this to go on for 6 months, there's no question whatsoever in my mind that you would see America quickly rise to the top, be the most innovative, have the most therapies being produced and everything. America is responsible for basically something like 90% of all the medical innovation in the world, and it would continue that way. But yeah, we had a faulty test. Before we landed a man on the moon, it looked like the Russians were going to beat us. Remember? We had spaceships.
Not everybody's quite.
I've read about it.
No, I'm saying I'm saying remember your history. We had the Mercury program. We had spaceships blowing up on the launch pad more than once. And then the Russians were first to get into space, and we questioned our system then. And in the end, it turned out that no, we were the only ones who could land a man on the moon, only ones to get them to walk on the moon. The Russians actually never did. They ended up losing astronauts. They finally gave up because they couldn't pull it off. So don't judge everything on a sample size of 2 weeks when there's been no preparation. That's really jumping the gun.
What about? Well, I think we should have been more prepared for this.
And in Asia, they've had a few pandemics already, so they're geared up.
The South Koreans are good at this, and we could be too. And I think we can get our bobsled team up and running as well.
What about
Taekwondo?
Israel has had very, very low amount of fatalities.
They're doing a good job, supposedly.
Well, their health system, as I understand it, is just they don't have it's so not up to the task that they need to do everything they can to keep the cases low.
And this is another good point. And this is for Periel especially.
What is that?
This is the arrogance.
The Hillary Clinton nutcracker?
Yeah.
This is the Hillary Clinton nutcracker. Yeah. This is the arrogance of America. We don't like Netanyahu's policies on something, whatever it is. So we decide that Israel shouldn't have this prime minister anymore. We have no fucking idea all the other reasons why this country may think this guy we're still better off with this guy. Now here there's a pandemic, and it turns out Israel has one of the most capable, intelligent, decisive leaders on the planet Earth that's dealing with this pandemic for them. And the guy that we prefer, because we prefer his view of the Palestinians, whatever,
might
have been a disaster. And we judge them. We judge them because we don't live there. For us, there's only one issue, and that's the issue they should vote on. But for them, they have other issues, like who's going to handle the intifada, who's going to keep us safe, who's going to handle pandemic, who's good for the economy. There's, all the same issues that we deal with here in our elections. Who's better for whatever it is that they vote on. But we say, no. He said this. We heard this sentence that Netanyahu said about the peace process. How can they vote for this man? That's the outrage. Anyway.
Right.
They're not regretting him now. Even the liberals who hate him are not regretting having him as prime minister now.
Yeah.
Anyway,
you hit it on the nose. Yeah.
I appreciate both of your patriotism, but I think that for the greatest country in the world, we have been woefully unprepared for this. And it
Prepared how?
Not enough PPE.
Protective
protective equipment.
Oh.
What is the second P for?
I don't know, but it's the shit.
Personal protective equipment.
We have not enough PPE. You're
okay,
right.
It's inexcusable. It's
Yes,
inexcusable. Full stop. You have emergency room doctors, emergency room nurses. They're wrapping fucking plastic bags over.
They were doing that before the virus, by the way.
Oh, that's insane.
It's insane. It's absolutely inexcusable, and it's disgraceful.
It is disgraceful.
It's disgraceful.
You guys have an unrealistic view of
healthcare, of the multi-billion-dollar industry that can't protect nurses and doctors.
I really have to go. That you think there can be some.
You've been saying that for 30 minutes.
Some system that manages to never have a miscalculation or a weakness
I don't know. Are you gonna chalk this up to a miscalculation?
Yeah, I am.
Okay.
I think that. Well, I mean, listen. There's a million hospitals in the country. I'm using that as a figure, but there's thousands of hospitals, and in every one of them, if this was so obvious, they have a hospital administrator there who could say, "We don't have enough PPE if there's a pandemic." It's not that only the federal government is the one to say that, and the fact that doesn't seem not one hospital.
We can't hear you.
To say that not one hospital stocked up and say that we need a few extra weeks worth of this stuff, to me indicates that this was not something that was on anybody's radar. Now, I don't think that's a reflection of our system. Shit happens. Fucking happens.
Look what happened with Katrina. I mean, whoever was running FEMA at the time did a horrible job. Do you remember that?
But that's FEMA. But what about the fact that New Orleans and Louisiana knew for about 90 years that they were not prepared for a hurricane? And they never did anything about it.
I will say this. I think that what they did at the Javits Center is very impressive.
Yeah. I have to go.
And you see what they did in Central Park? The field hospital and the morgue in Central Park?
Yeah, except that field hospital is very dicey. Supposedly it's like a far-right Christian group, and you have to take an oath that you are against gay people.
Look.
Wow.
That's okay.
They got the cure. I'll do it.
No.
I have to go. You guys can continue. I have
okay. Well, we're gonna go. It's Comedy Cellar at podcast@comedycellar.com. Visit Aruba Ray on the social media at Aruba at Ray. I don't know what.
You can go to Ray Comedy, and you can also check out arubacomedy.com.
And you could follow us at Live from the Table.
And we'll see you next time. Stay safe.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye, guys.